Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and we are here to recap Love Is Season 1, Episode 7, which was titled Not Valentine's Day. So, guys, I want you to know after I watched this episode, I was like, I am so done with this show. I don't know what to do. But then, the more and more people I see talking about it on social media, I'm like, okay, I'm going to stick with the reviews. And I'm trying to think, I can't figure out how many episodes there are, but I'm thinking they may be coming upon the season finale because I know they were renewed for season 2. And I may have mentioned in another video that Queen Sugar, which has also been renewed for season 4, was 16 episodes last year, and this year they were only, or this season they were only 13 episodes. So I'm thinking they may have stolen or taken episodes from Queen Sugar and Greenleaf and contributed them to Love Is so that this show could get a full season. So we'll see what happens, but this Valentine's Day episode was a lesson on Negroes running game. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So y'all, guess who finally got a job? Yes, Yasir. So he interviews horribly for a stock boy position at a knockoff Barnes and Noble, and I'm sitting there thinking, you a 30-something-year-old man with back child support due, and you sitting here talking about you really want a job as a stock boy in a bookstore? Like, is this really where you're going? Now, I'm a writer, but I'm not trying to get a job in the bookstore. I love going to the bookstore. I love buying books. As you can see, I buy them and take forever to read them, but I'm not trying to get a job in a bookstore. I read books to inspire me and to hone my craft. You see, I'm going to need you to do better, okay? So he's sitting in the interview and he's being arrogant and rude to the interviewer because he says that he was interviewed for the same position several times and that he knew he wasn't going to get the position. And he starts talking about affirmative action and how corporations have to interview so many minorities for positions for, I guess, reporting purposes. So he believes that this is the reason that they keep calling him back, that they're using him. And I kind of feel him on this because I do virtual assistant work for a couple of contractors, black contractors. And one of the things that happens is you get these white construction companies who are looking for subcontractors, and so they'll have the black contractors bid on the jobs knowing that they're never going to give them the job, and if they do give them work, it's usually to come in and do a repair, or like instead of stuccoing an entire house or an entire commercial property, they'll call them and say, oh, well, can you stucco this little 6-foot brick wall that's standing by the door? They'll give them a little menial work just to be able to say when they try to get bigger contractors that, yeah, we work with minority contractors. So I can kind of understand how he was feeling, but it was no excuse for the way that he was acting. So after the guy lets Yasir know that this particular interview was not about his skills and whether he qualified for the job, but it was actually to test his personality and see if he can get along with other people in the company. And so he realizes that, dang, I done put my foot in my mouth, because I may have been closer to getting the job. So Yasir knows that he's not getting the job after the way he done acted, so he storms out. But then when he gets in the parking lot, I guess he starts thinking about, how disappointed Nuri is going to be that yet again, he didn't get a job and he's still living off of her. So he decides to go back inside and humble himself. And so he tells the guy that, he's a smoker and he's trying to quit smoking and he's just really agitated. And it turns out that the guy also is trying to quit smoking. So they have this thing that they have in common and that they can bond on. And so the guy decides to give Yasir the job and tells him that he gets a 40% off discount on anything that he purchases out of the store. And then Yasir mentions a book that he was interested in. And so the guy tells him, oh, the book is on sale also. Actually, the book might have been 40% off, but then Yasir also got an employee discount. So, yes, Yasir finally has a job. Woo, woo. You guys remember, I think when I think when Nuri and Yasir first slept together, I made a comment about, how long is Ramadan? Is it like 7 or 10 days? Well, we find out that Ramadan is actually 30 days. So we know Yasir done messed all that up because him and Nuri been knocking boots for the past 3 or 4 weeks. So Yasir says that Nuri is his blessing, a promise from Allah for his fasting and atonement. But I am pretty sure that Allah says that fornicating is not being committed to what he has done. So, and also, I don't think that Allah would be too pleased about a grown man living off of women the way that Yasir does. But anyway, to show his gratitude, he gives her the book and that he got from the store, and lets her know that he got it with his employee discount, his way of letting Nuri know that he didn't got a job. And so the name of the book was called The Art of Dramatic Writing, and Nuri seemed to be very happy about getting this book. And also, I think it was in this episode where Nuri talks about some of her insecurities, and we have scenes like where she's writing or reading something that's kind of like simplistic. It would be sort of like if I'm always watching reality TV, but my man is tuned in to CNN and Fox News and all of that. So now you're feeling kind of insecure because those things don't interest you, but that's all he wants to talk about. And then you can't carry on a conversation with him because that's not your interest. And he can't have a conversation with you because what you're into really isn't his interest. And so she kind of speaks about that in this episode, how they really aren't on this, like they have this common goal of wanting to be writers and producers and in the entertainment industry. But we see Nuri is working hard towards her goals, but Yasir is just basically watching TV and, absorbing information, but he's not really putting forth an effort to pursue his dreams. And so I like how they kind of touched on that in this episode. So then Nuri's mom is on the scene making sure her daughter finally furnishes her house. And you guys remember that Nuri had bought that sofa from the used furniture store, or the it was used furniture, but I think they used another name like retro furniture or something. So anyway, the used couch that Nuri bought has been relegated to her home office. So following Nuri and her mom into the house are 2 delivery guys. And so they're bringing in, I think it was a pink couch and then 2 accent chairs and a coffee table. And I think the accent chairs were like orange in color. So once they get it all laid out the way that they want the living room set up, mom and daughter plop down on the couch, and I just love the angle that the camera showed. It was almost like the camera was bearing down on them, and so they're like laid back, relaxing on the sofa, and they just have this look of satisfaction. And we know that Nuri really loves her mom, and her mom is probably her best friend. Later on, Yasir walks in using his key, and Mama was like, "What the hell? He got a key? Like, girl, what is you doing?" So she tells Yasir when they're introduced that she prefers a hug because a handshake doesn't tell you much about a person. And I think Mama picked up on some negative vibes when they did that little hug situation. And so although Nuri's mom was asking questions that were none of her business, I felt Yasir was being really arrogant and defensive and full of himself in his responses. And so he also goes so far as to tell Nuri that the couch that her mother helped pick out would look better in her home office because the color reflects creativity, and when she's working, you know, on her scripts or whatever, when she's in there writing, she wants, you know, all this creative vibe going on. And then Nuri silly behind agrees that, you know, she'll bring the used couch into the living room and take the new couch into the office. And so the mom looking at her like, have you known this man long enough for him to be like telling you what to do and making decisions for you? And so we find out that Nuri has been spilling all the tea with her mom, like telling her mom about their sex life, how Yasir goes longer than she's used to, and she just doesn't have the stamina. And I'm just like, and I'm sure she done told the mom about Ruby and everybody else in the situation. So Mama Carol decides that she's going to ask Yasir what their plans are for Valentine's Day. So Yasir gives the broke man response and says that he doesn't celebrate corporate holidays, but he's open to celebrating it if Nuri wants to. And then this joker was sitting there talking about, you know, how it's all a ploy and how, you know, you never recover and it's just a scheme to keep people broke. And I'm sitting there saying, but you ain't got no money to participate in any of this, so how is it keeping you broke? But I know I was being wrong. I was being messy. So anyway, Nuri pretends that she's cool with not celebrating Valentine's Day, but her mom is like giving her the side eye because she knows that Valentine's Day is one of Nuri's favorite holidays, because we all know that Nuri is a hopeless romantic. So Yasir decides to excuse himself and go cook him and Nuri dinner, aka letting Carol know that he is large and in charge and he is running this household. So before walking off, he hugs Mama Carol and then makes some snide remark about her being right. The hug tells you way much more about a person than a handshake. So I guess Mama Carol was like all tensed up when they had that hug. So now it's actually Valentine's Day, and Nuri is feeling some type of way about, you know, some type of way at work because her co-workers are clowning her because they know that Yasir is gaming her big time. So the men are actually trying to school her and let her know that Yasir is full of crap. But like I said weeks ago, Nuri is very prideful, and the more that people tell her Yasir is not good for her and that he's running game, the more determined she is going to be to prove them wrong. And so she hears all the romantic things that the guys are saying that they're going to do for their wives and their girlfriends, like taking them on trips, taking them to expensive restaurants, all the flowers that they've sent. And then Norman actually bought his wife a new sports car, and so she comes running into the office to tell him thank you, and then tells all the women, tell everybody in the office actually that they need to come outside and see her new car. And then actually before she showed up, Norman had given all the women in the office a rose, and then he saw how sad that Nuri was looking, so he decided to give her 2 roses. So Nuri was standing in the doorway of Angela's office, and so a delivery came in for Angela, and Angela reads the card, and so Nuri thinking like, well, God dog, even Angela got a man on Valentine's Day that wants to support her. So she is truly in her feelings at this point. So after the whole scene where everybody goes down to look at Norman's wife's new car, Nuri goes back into the building, and there's like this production room that I guess she goes into to meditate when, to get her energy back up when it's not in use. So she goes into the room, and lo and behold, do we see Angela sitting up on the desk, and the new guy named Eric all between her legs, licking her and all this. Just like, really, y'all doing this on the job? And then the Joker actually had nerve to get up and kiss her on the mouth after he done been down between her legs. And I was just like, oh, okay, so this is why you can't be around here, your man coming home from work or whatever, walk in the house and kissing you like you don't know where his lips done been. Anyway, Nuri finally admits that she really does want to celebrate with Yasir, but decided to front instead. So Yasir then has the nerve to tell Nuri that she should continue her tradition of spending Valentine's Day with her mom, aunt, and grandma. He, in turn, will go home and would come back the following day. like, did this Negro really say that he was gonna go home? Like, you done been at Nuri's house for like 3 weeks straight, ain't thought about Ruby, and you think you fixing to roll back up into her house like you just coming home from a day's work or whatever. And so Nuri was looking at him some kind of way like, go home? Like, what are you talking about? Don't you mean you going back to Ruby? And then he was like, no, I'm going back to my place. You know, we are roommates. And so that technically is my place. And that's where I'm going. And, you know, I'll see you tomorrow. I was like, where do they do this at? Like, seriously, where do they do this at? Because at this point, we don't know who the side chick is. So when the ladies arrive to celebrate their annual Single Girls Day party, minus Nuri's sister, who has finally found a man, things go left really quickly. And just to put a pin there, so we know Nuri is a hopeless romantic. The fact that the sister has actually found somebody that's probably really fueling Nuri's desire and her need to be in a relationship. And then I was talking to somebody on Facebook about the episode, and then it reminded me of my first book, He Loves Me, He Loves Me Not, because the main character, Khadijah, she reminds me so much of Nuri, how she just wants to be loved, wants to be in a relationship. And part of the theme in the book is the fact that Khadijah's sister goes off to college, meets a guy, they fall in love, they get married, you know, they have this happily ever after. And so she wants to replicate that, but it doesn't happen for her. And so now we know that Nuri is dealing with jealousy of her sister. So Nuri's mom, Carol, you know, she's been telling all her business to the aunt, I think it was Aunt Audrey, and then to the grandmother. And then rather than be judged, Nuri lets them know that she doesn't like spending Valentine's Day with them, and that she really would prefer to have spent it with her man. And so the grandmother, who is played by, oh my God, what's her name? Horsley. Anna Nicole Horsley. Oh my God, she's a famous actress. I can't think of her name. But this brings into question to me. Nuri looks like she's biracial. Her mother looks like she could be biracial. The aunt was played by Charmaine Lee, who is not really a really light-skinned sister to the point where she would look like she was mixed, but she is of a lighter complexion. And then you have Anna Marie Horsley. Then you have her, who is like this, you know, kind of heavy set, dark skinned woman with short hair, and she's the grandmother. So like, okay, so was granddaddy white? Was granddaddy biracial? And that's how they produce these children that look absolutely nothing like their grandmother. But anyway, grandma was happy that Nuri had that tangent, which lets us know that Nuri is spoiled rotten by her family. And she decides that it's time for her to tell her truth, that in 1991, all of this was cute. But here it is, 6 years later, she ain't got time to be sitting up with these dried up vaginas, you know, moaning the loss of the fact that they ain't got no mans in their life, because she could be home watching TV. So then the aunt, Audrey, agrees that this ain't really where she want to be either. So the aunt and the grandma, they rolled out and left Nuri there with her mom. And so then the mom, I guess, had already planned to spend the night with Nuri. But they were just like, this ain't what we're going to be doing. Another thing we learned about Nuri is that I guess her father was a lot like Yasir. And so it comes out, you know, that Yasir actually does remind Nuri's mom of her ex-husband. And so that turns out to be a trigger for Nuri, because now she, you know, all of her life she didn't want to end up with a man like her dad. She's had this image in her mind that, you know, she was going to marry this perfect guy, they're going to live happily ever after. But she doesn't realize that she's actually in a relationship with her dad. So this, again, is going to be her driving force to prove everybody wrong and to prove that Yasir is not who everybody thinks he is. So meanwhile, we going on over to Ruby's house. So Ruby is not amused to see Yasir on Valentine's Day of all days, because she's been dealing with some feelings. and that were starting to resurface. So when he walks in, she's cleaning out the refrigerator, and he was like, oh, you're doing some cleaning, and she was like, yeah, out with the old and in with the new, like letting him know, Joker, I ain't going there with you. So Yasir reminds her that he still has 3 weeks left before meeting with his parent, or meeting with her parents. And Ruby clarifies and let him know, Joker, you've been gone so long, you don't even know how many weeks left. You only got 2 weeks. But nevertheless, he wants to still have access to come and go as he pleases, but ain't paying no dang on rent. And I know, Ruby told him that he could stay there rent-free to kind of regroup and get himself together, and in exchange for him putting on the front when her mom comes. So he throws in her face that she didn't really want him there anyway, and that she's only touched him like 2 times in the past 5 months. And I'm thinking, like, most women don't, like, women, when a man isn't doing what he's supposed to be doing, when he's putting all the burden on you, where you got to be making all the decisions, you got to be making all the bills, making sure all the bills are being paid, like, a broke man becomes less and less attractive as the days go by. And then a broke man that's trying to be all up in your grill, when he chasing after another woman somewhere else that's everything that you're not, she really don't want to hear what you're talking about. So Ruby can't take seeing his face because it's reminding her that he has moved on, and she's going to live out, that he's moved on and is going to live out his dreams with Nuri. And so now that she knows, what Nuri looks like, I am sure, the whole light skin versus dark skin thing is playing in her mind. And, now he done found a job, and he wants her to be excited that he has a job. And, he done decided to quit smoking, because I think she told him that it was a pack of cigarettes on the dining room table. And he was like, oh, I done gave that up. So she feels like she's basically got him prepared for somebody else to benefit from. And I can really understand how she feels that. And let's take a second to talk about Yasir. So ever since Yasir got that job, he has had on his uniform, which you guys know at Barnes and Noble. Now, the name of the store was something else, but it really was Barnes and Noble. He has on the green polo, that has like the Barnes and Noble logo, and the khaki pants. And he has had that doggone outfit on, I swear, for like 2 episodes. So anyway, Yasir, being who he is, can't let it end on Ruby's terms. So he claims to not understand, why they can't still be friends. And then he brings up a yoga video that he started working on for her, but then Ruby lets him know, but you never finished it. So then he tries to say, oh, well, we didn't finish it because we ran out of money. And I'm like, Yasir, I would just appreciate you being able to say that you didn't have a job, that you lost your job, probably because of your little funky attitude that you showed over there at the bookstore. And then Ruby had to take her extra money to make sure y'all had a roof over your head, but nobody wants to see any of that or accept any of that. So, he's trying to say that, but now that he has a job, they can go ahead and finish the video, get it on the market, and then they both can benefit from the proceeds. But Ruby looking at him like, hell to the no, Joker, I'm not investing any more time, energy, or money into anything that you're doing. And she was like, and as a matter of fact, I need about 1 hour without seeing your face. So I'm gonna need you to roll up out of here right about now. So Yasir goes to his favorite place, which is that cafe, and he done call Sean, with his woe is me story. So Sean shows up and basically tells him that he needs to cut the corporate holiday crap. And if Nuri, really loves Valentine's Day and wants to celebrate Valentine's Day, then he needs to go be with Nuri and stop with the nonsense. So Yasir eventually gathers his pride and returns to Nuri's house. And I think it was like 5 minutes before midnight. So it's still technically Valentine's Day. So Nuri's mom is there, but then she decides to like hide behind the wall that separates I guess the dining room and the living room or something. So she's eavesdropping on the two of them. And so Yasir comes in and he has some flowers that he said he realizes were her favorite flowers. And Nuri's like, oh, how did you know? And he was like, oh, I noticed them on some board that she has up in her writing room. And then he claims that, then he tells her that he has a favorite song that he wants to be like their theme song, and every time she hears that song, he wants her to be reminded of him. And so Love Ballad by LTD comes on, and so the two of them start slow dancing. And then we have like the future or the wiser Nuri and Yasir, and so they're basically dancing to the same song. And so I used to love, well, I still do love Ballad, but I was introduced to that song by a guy that I had the biggest crush on when I was a freshman in high school, and he was a senior. And, he told me that that was his favorite song. So, I love that song. And even though he turned out to be an asshole, and I think now he's a crackhead and everything else, that song will forever remind me of him. And so before I close, that's pretty much how the show ended. But before I close out, I want to say that it was nice, that we got to meet Nuri's family and kind of get more of a understanding of who she is as a person. And it just seems like, based on the aunt and the grandmother, like they probably really spoil Nuri rotten and make her, treat her like she's a princess. And then we could tell by, their sense of humor, they're different from the mother, whereas the mother seems to be more intense and serious and everything. The grandmother and Aunt Audrey, they can see the brighter side of any situation. So Nuri probably picks up a lot of that from them. So that's it for me, guys. What did you think about this episode? Leave your comments below, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.